Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fashion Priest, where we teach professional male fashion designing from beginner to advanced level. If this is your first time here, my name is Justice Ajoko. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our practical lessons. Today's lesson is one every beginner must master before making their first outfit. We are talking about essential sewing tools every beginner must have. Let's get right started. Now, why are sewing tools important? Now, sewing tools is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make in trying to sew with the wrong tools, right? Now, imagine a carpenter trying to build a house without a hammer or measuring tape. The same thing happens in fashion designing. Professional tools makes your work, you know, faster. It makes it easier. It makes your work look more professional, more accurate in the sense that you use each tool for every part. You know, it makes your work, have this flair of being a professional. Now, remember, good tools don't make you a great tailor, but they make it easier to produce great outfits. Right? Now, number one in the line of this is the measuring tape. Now, the first tool every designer must have or own is the measuring tape. Now, which is this? They have different types of this. Now, without accurate measurements, clothes won't fit properly, right? Without accurate measurements, clothes won't fit properly. A measuring tape is used for the following: the chest measurements, the shoulder measurements, the waist, the hip, the lap, the neck, the round sleeve, the sleeve length, the top length, the trouser length. I will give you a proper, list or series of steps how we measure, both the shoulder. In fact, everything that you want to measure must be done by the measuring tape. Now, the tip to use this is never stretch your measuring tape while taking measurement. Accuracy is everything. And another tip as well is that you must make sure that you maintain a particular measuring tape, within a particular period of time. Now, the next tool we are going to be talking about is our fabric shears. Now, what most people call scissors. Now, a fabric shear or scissors is specially designed for cutting fabric. Now, never use your fabric shears to cut paper. Bear in mind, they have different types of scissors for different reasons. They have for fabric, they have for paper, they have for gum, right? I will tell you why all of this matters. Now, paper quickly makes the blade dull, and dull scissors produce rough, uneven edge cutting. Keep one scissor strictly for fabric, keep one scissors for paper and for your gums. Now, the next is the paper scissors. Now, you also need another scissors, especially for cutting paper, cardboard, templates, like if you're into using paper to draft your pattern, right? So the reason I'm taking my time to explain these things for you first is for you to know. So when we start working, you will be seeing different scissors for different reasons. Now, keeping your paper scissors separate helps your fabric scissors stay sharp and much more longer. Now, the number 4 we have is the Tailor's chalk or fabric marker. Now, this is used to make sewing lines on fabric. It helps you draw cutting lines, draft your measurements, mark your darts, mark your neckline, everything you need, mark pocket positions, indicate sewing points, and make every detailed illustration on the fabric itself. Now, always choose a chalk color that contrasts with your fabric. Example, use white chalk on black fabric. Now, so your markings are easy to use, but in most cases, you might be tempted to use white chalk on white fabric because white chalks are easier to clean and colored chalks is a bit difficult to clean on white fabrics, right? Now, the next we are going to talk about is our pins and pin cushion. Now, pins temporarily hold the fabric pieces together before sewing. Now, they prevent the fabric from shifting and help achieve a clean, accurate stitching. Now, a pin cushion keeps your pins organized and reduces the risk of injury, right? All of these things are in the market. You can take the name and get them or buy them if you have the money. Then the number 6 here we have is what they call the seam ripper. Now, even professional fashion designers make mistake. That's why every tailor needs a seam ripper. Now, instead of damaging the fabric with scissors, use a seam ripper to carefully remove unwanted stitches. It is one of the smallest but most valuable tools in your sewing kit, your seam ripper. Now, the next we have here is our rulers. Now, pattern drafting requires different rulers, including stretch ruler, hip curve, French curve, pattern master, L square shape, all of these rules will be shown as we progress. I have some of them here. Now you see them. Now, these rulers help create smooth curves and precise angles for professional patterns. Right now, the next one is your sewing machine. This is what most people feel is the first thing, but which is not the truth. Your sewing machine is the heart of your workshop. As a beginner, don't worry about buying the most expensive machine. While you are working, start with a reliable machine, learn to use it very well, and upgrade your skills and business as your business grows. Now, the next that most people don't talk about is steam iron. Steam iron, I did not say normal ironing, steam iron. A professional designer doesn't only sew, he presses. Pressing gives garments sharp edges, neater finishing, smooth seams, relaxed, looks, a luxury finish, and you must use steam iron in working. Bear in mind, irons are of two types, dry cell and steam. You get the point? Now, there is a saying in tailoring, half of good sewing is good pressing. Like if you want to achieve good sewing, once you know how to press very well, you have already started having the sewing properly done. Now, the next here is your notebook. Now, always keep a notebook, like write down some points, write down some customer measurements, some, formulas, like a crush of your clients, sewing tips you learn somewhere, try to jot it down, mistakes you have learned or you have learned from, as you are working, make sure you jot or pen down some important information. Now, a successful fashion designer is also a good record keeper. If you don't use your notes, you can use your Google Keep Note, an app online that helps keep information, which I will show us as we progress. Now, conclusively, you don't need a very expensive tool before you begin. Start with the basics. As your skills improve and your business grows, you can gradually invest in more advanced sewing equipment. Now, remember, the best investment is not just in machines, it is in your knowledge and consistent practice. So what does this mean? It simply means that you need to, from time to time, attend seminars, online classes, watch tutorials on YouTube, just like the one you are watching right now, and make sure you practice and implement what you have learned. Thank you for watching. In our next lesson, we will discuss industrial versus domestic sewing machines. Which one should you buy? If you found this lesson helpful, please like this video, subscribe to Fashion Priest, and share it with someone who wants to learn male fashion designing. If you have any questions about sewing tools, leave them in the comment section and I will gladly answer them. I am Justice Achoko and this is Fashion Priest. See you in the next lesson. Bye-bye for now.